I wasn't supposed to come home that night. The business trip in Seattle had gone smoother than expected. 3 days of back-to-back meetings, one dinner with the client, and a handshake that sealed a multi-million-dollar contract. I was exhausted but satisfied. And then my flight got bumped up, someone had canceled last minute, and the airline offered me a seat on the earlier flight. I took it without thinking. I just wanted to sleep in my own bed. I didn't call her. Thought I'd surprise her. We hadn't been close lately, and maybe, just maybe, I hoped that seeing me walk through the front door earlier than planned would bring a smile to her face. Instead, when I stepped inside the house, silence greeted me. Not the kind that relaxes you after a long trip, but the kind that pricks your skin. Hollow. Off. Cold. The coat closet door was slightly ajar. That was the first odd detail. She always kept things neat. As I dropped my suitcase by the hallway bench, something in my gut turned. I walked slowly through the house, my footsteps echoing a little too loudly on the hardwood. The living room looked untouched. Tidy, still. But something was missing, like a ghost had passed through. The throw pillows were missing from the couch. The candles from the shelf. A small space on the wall was empty where a framed photo used to hang. I moved to the kitchen. The counters were clear. Normally, she left a coffee mug by the sink, or a used tea bag, or crumbs from toast. Nothing. Like she hadn't even had breakfast here. The place smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, but it didn't feel clean. It felt evacuated. Then I walked into her bedroom. My heart sank. Half the closet was empty. Her hangers were swinging gently, like she'd just pulled her clothes off in a rush. Her dresser drawers were open, some completely empty, others hastily packed. The nightstand on her side of the bed was cleared out. No watch, no earrings, no book. Just a sheet of folded paper sitting perfectly in the center of the mattress. I knew before I opened it. I've met someone more successful. I'm moving in with him. I deserve more. Don't try to contact me. There was no signature. No I'm sorry. Just 4 sentences that shattered 5 years of marriage like glass dropped on tile. I sat on the edge of the bed. I read the note twice, then again. My hands didn't shake. My eyes didn't blur. It was like the storm had hit, and I was already standing in the rubble, too numb to cry. My phone buzzed. A text. Don't be dramatic. You'll be fine. I need a real man with ambition. No punctuation. No emotion. That's when the calm washed over me. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. I didn't reply. I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. Poured a glass of water. Then I dialed a number I hadn't called in months. "Gary," I said when the voice answered. "It's me. I need to talk to you about initiating the divorce. Tonight." There was a pause. "Is everything all right?" "She's gone," I said simply. "Took her stuff. Left me a note. She's moving in with someone else." Gary, my lawyer, didn't respond for a moment. Then came a quiet, steady voice, "All right. I'll draft the paperwork." By morning, I had slept no more than an hour. Not because I was heartbroken, that had been cauterized out of me the moment I read her text, but because my mind wouldn't stop working. Every conversation we'd had over the past year was suddenly playing back like evidence. Every compliment she gave me that felt forced. Every night she claimed she was working late. Every look she gave her phone and turned it face down when I walked in the room. I didn't want revenge. I wanted order. I wanted my life back. So I made coffee, black, strong, bitter, and sat at the kitchen table with a pen and a legal pad. My to-do list didn't contain grief, it contained strategy. Step 1, lock down the accounts. She had access to our joint account, but I hadn't kept much there, not since I noticed the withdrawals starting to spike in the last few months. Designer bags, spa visits, dinners that didn't match our calendar. The main investment accounts, the property holdings, all were in my name. She never cared to ask why, and I never told her. By noon, the joint account was frozen. The bank flagged no unusual resistance. In fact, they noted that she had attempted a transfer that morning and it had bounced. Too late. Step 2, secure the assets. The house. Bought before we married. Titled in my name. Renovated using my company's budget. The prenup she signed, cheerfully and confidently before our wedding, gave her no claim to it. She didn't even have a key now, the locks were changed by 3 p.m. Her car? A leased luxury coupe she insisted on. Technically under my LLC. I called the dealership. Within the hour, they arranged a pickup. Her credit card? Cancelled. The utilities? Switched to single user. I moved through the day with a calm, mechanical efficiency. People talk about the stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But what no one tells you is there's a hidden stage, calculation. It comes when your heart is still, and all you have left is logic. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to chase. I was going to protect myself. At 4:11 p.m., she called. I didn't answer. She texted 30 seconds later. What the hell did you do to the account? I muted the thread. 2 hours passed. Another call. Another voicemail I didn't listen to. Then, finally, the tone changed. I think we should talk. Can we be civil? I poured myself a drink. Neat bourbon. Sat outside on the patio with the sun setting over the backyard she used to complain about mowing. It was peaceful. Quieter than it had ever been. My phone buzzed again. I didn't mean it like that. I was confused. You never made time for us anymore. The irony hit like a bitter aftertaste. I was always the one working to build something, not just a business, but a foundation for both of us. She wanted the fruits of success without being there during the planting season. I opened her Instagram. Gone. Deactivated. She hadn't posted in days. Her last story, from earlier that week, was of champagne at some rooftop bar. A man's arm was barely visible beside her. Gold watch. White cuff. Not mine. I looked up the man's name, which she'd casually dropped once or twice. Worked at a hedge fund. Single, wealthy, and very married to his career. A known bachelor. The type who dated for sport. I wasn't mad at him. He owed me nothing. But her? She'd gambled everything on a man who treated her like a weekend habit. And now she realized the jackpot wasn't coming. 3 days passed. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. Watching the messages come in without flinching gave me a sense of calm control. She was spiraling, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally standing still. Why are you doing this? You're being so cold. We were married. Can we just talk? But she never once said sorry. The apology never came, just excuses, veiled with entitlement. Gary, my lawyer, filed the paperwork fast. With the prenup, she wasn't entitled to spousal support, and she had waived any claim to the house, business assets, or investment income. At most, she'd leave with her personal belongings and the debt she brought into the marriage, something she'd always assumed I'd eventually absorb. She didn't even know I'd paid off one of her credit cards months ago, just to stop the collectors from calling. She hadn't thanked me for that either. The silence in the house was beginning to feel like peace. For the first time in years, I slept with the windows open. No passive-aggressive sighs from the other side of the bed. No cold feet brushing mine. No perfume lingering on the sheets that wasn't there the night before. By the end of the week, the calls slowed. That Saturday morning, I saw her name flash on the screen again. But this time, it wasn't a text or a call, it was an airdrop request. A photo. I didn't open it. Instead, I texted back one word. Mail. She responded 2 minutes later. I don't have anywhere to send it right now. And there it was. She had moved in with her new man too fast. Too confidently. She thought she'd be the queen in a bigger castle, not a guest in a cold penthouse. And now, she was floating, no address, no car, no assets, and no safety net. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That afternoon, I went to the downtown loft I had bought 6 months earlier as a side investment. I had never told her about it. She didn't care much for real estate and rarely asked about my work. But it was mine, fully furnished, with an unobstructed view of the skyline and a rooftop terrace. I stood out on that terrace with a cup of coffee and looked out at the city. It was mine again, every light in every window, every car that passed below. The world had shrunk during our marriage, revolving around her needs, her moods, her schedule. Now, it was wide open again. I checked my email. The government contract we landed on my trip was finalized. The company was about to scale. Gary had introduced me to a venture partner. My assistant had already started vetting candidates to replace the marketing lead, who, incidentally, had once sent me screenshots of my wife's flirty DMs. I hadn't believed them at the time. Now, I wished I'd trusted my gut. On Sunday, I went to the gym for the first time in weeks. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about some transformation montage you'd see in a movie. It was just about me. Sweat cleared the last of the fog. A clear mind. A sharp focus. A reminder that I had survived far worse than a gold digger with a phone full of secrets. That night, I got dinner with an old friend. Claire. We had known each other before the marriage. She was kind, direct, and funny in a way that didn't feel performative. I told her what happened. She didn't flinch. "You look relieved," she said gently. "I am." She nodded. "Then don't waste your time feeling bad about it. Anyone who chooses status over loyalty doesn't deserve either." 2 weeks after she left, she showed up. It was a Thursday morning, gray and drizzly, one of those days where the world feels muted and the sky refuses to decide whether to rain or just sulk. I was working from the downtown loft, reviewing marketing strategies for the upcoming product launch when the front desk buzzed. "Mr. Thompson, there's someone here asking for you. She says she's your wife?" I almost laughed. "I don't have a wife," I replied flatly. "Send her away." They didn't. 10 minutes later, I heard the knock. It was her. Soaked, mascara smudged, dragging a carry-on suitcase behind her like a bad memory. Her expensive coat was buttoned all wrong. Her hair was a mess. She looked nothing like the flawless woman who had once taken 2 hours to get ready just to go to the supermarket. She looked real and utterly lost. "Please," she said. No other words. Just that. I didn't say anything. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even annoyed. I was just done. She sniffled. "I don't have anywhere to go." He said I was too intense. He kicked me out. I blinked. That sounds like a personal problem. Her lips trembled. "Can I just come in? Just to talk? Please." "You didn't even let me explain." "You explained in your note," I said. "And your text. And your silence for the 2 weeks that followed." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Her voice cracked. "I made a mistake." "No," I said quietly. "You made a choice. That's different." The rain fell harder outside. I watched her shoulders collapse. Watched as the weight of her decisions finally landed. "I don't need the house," she whispered. "I don't need money. I need you to know I didn't do it to hurt you." I looked at her, really looked. For years, I had built her world. Held her steady. Protected her from the storms she created. But now, she was standing in one. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to see before. She didn't love me. Not really. She loved stability. She loved control. She loved the mirror image of success, the one that came with nice dinners, leather seats, and luxury skincare. But me? The man behind it all? I was just the engine. And when she thought she found a faster ride, she hopped out mid-trip. Now she wanted back in because her new ride broke down. "I'm not angry," I told her. She looked up, confused. "I'm free," I continued. "And that's better than forgiveness." I closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night, I boxed up the last of her things. A few shoes she hadn't taken, some books, her old perfume. I didn't even smell it. Just sealed the box and called a courier. I gave them the address of her sister. She could sort it out from there. By the weekend, she stopped calling. I think it finally sunk in that there was nothing left to salvage, not because I hated her, but because she had destroyed something you only get once: trust. At work, I was sharper than ever. Clear-minded. Driven. The company was scaling fast, and my name, once just another founder in a crowded market, was now echoing in rooms I had only dreamed of 5 years ago. Claire came by again the next Friday. We had dinner on the rooftop. No pressure. Just conversation, laughter, and stories that made the night feel light. "You seem calm," she said. "I am," I replied. "Are you going to date again?" I smiled. "Eventually. Right now, I'm dating silence. And she's very good to me." I didn't feel proud for turning her away. I didn't feel cold, either. I felt honest. For once, I wasn't trying to be the bigger person. I wasn't performing grace or forgiveness. I was simply preserving peace. Mine. She had gambled with my love like it was a backup plan, a cushion she could fall back on when the next man didn't catch her. But I wasn't her mattress. I wasn't her plan B. I was the man she walked away from when she thought she could do better, and found out too late that better didn't mean willing to stay. The next day, I got an email from her lawyer. A clumsy attempt at negotiation. She now wanted to challenge the prenup. Claimed she signed it under pressure. Claimed she didn't fully understand what she was agreeing to. Gary laughed when I forwarded it to him. "She's grasping," he said. "Let her try. It won't go far." I gave a single instruction: no mercy, but no cruelty. I didn't need to punish her, I just needed to protect myself. A week later, her lawyer backed off. They had reviewed the documents. Her signature. Her voluntary statement. Her waiver of independent counsel. Ironclad. She was officially on her own. And then, as if the universe had hit unmute, people started talking. Mutual friends I hadn't heard from in months reached out quietly. Some curious, some shocked. A former coworker of hers messaged me out of the blue. "I never liked what she said about you at the office. You were always too serious or too slow. Just thought you should know." She made it sound like she was bailing out of a sinking ship. I didn't respond. Then came a text from her sister. "She's not doing well. She's staying in a friend's guest room. She's embarrassed. She knows she screwed up." Again, I said nothing. Because what was there to say? I had already done my talking, with silence, with boundaries, with actions. She'd left me for someone who had no interest in keeping her. She'd spent 5 years riding shotgun in my life, thinking she deserved the wheel, and when I handed it over, she crashed. Now, she wanted back in the passenger seat. But I wasn't going her way anymore. That Sunday, I walked past the bookstore where we used to go on quiet weekends. They were having a reading night. Couples filled the little cafe, reading poetry to each other over wine. I paused at the window and smiled. Not out of sadness. Not out of nostalgia. But because I finally understood something. She hadn't ruined me. She'd revealed me. I was stronger now. Sharper. Wiser. Not because I'd been betrayed, but because I had survived it without losing who I was. Months passed. The divorce was finalized without a courtroom appearance. She didn't fight it. She couldn't. Everything had been done by the book, her signature on every line, her choices buried in every clause she hadn't cared to read. The final settlement was clean. She walked away with her clothes, her debt, and her pride crumpled like receipts in a purse she couldn't afford anymore. No alimony. No assets. Not even the car she used to flaunt on social media. I never heard from her again. And I didn't go looking. They say betrayal changes you. It does. But not in the ways you might expect. I didn't become bitter. I didn't start hating women. I didn't wall off my heart like some wounded hero in a B-list movie. What changed was subtler, deeper. I listened more. Not to others, to myself. To the instincts I had silenced when she started acting distant. To the red flags I had dismissed because I didn't want to seem paranoid. To the moments I had swallowed my truth just to keep the peace in a relationship that was already on life support. Now I listen. And I protect that voice. It had been whispering to me all along. I started journaling again. Not the way she used to mock, not those sad little morning pages, as she once called them. I wrote not to record pain, but to celebrate freedom. Each entry was a stake in new ground. The territory of my life expanding again. Monday, launched new ad campaign. Wednesday, dinner with Claire. Friday, slept 8 hours without dreams. Heaven. It was nothing profound. But it was mine. Claire became more than a friend. It didn't happen suddenly, no Hollywood kiss in the rain or confession over wine. It was slower than that. Kinder. We took long walks. We worked side by side at cafes. She made me laugh in ways that didn't feel forced. When she touched my hand, I didn't flinch, I breathed. One night, she said, "You're not afraid to be quiet." It was the strangest compliment I'd ever received. But it stuck. Because she was right. I had spent so many years trying to fill the silence with solutions, explanations, justifications, make-it-betters. With her, I could just be. I didn't have to perform calm. I was calm. Eventually, I gave her a drawer. Then a key. Then my heart. And she didn't drop it. She held it like something precious. Not because I was broken, but because I was whole, and she respected that.